Ghana has gone through a very checkered history for almost 2 decades, about 16 years. From the era of the Ghana Health Company, Medcare, and all that in the early 2000s, to the passage of the first Health Insurance Act in 2003 and its implementation in 2004, where virtually all the private health insurance companies were mutual health organizations. In the last 6 years, the industry has undergone drastic reforms initiated by the regulator NHIS under the Directorate of the Private Health Insurance Schemes and with the support of the industry. This has resulted in the conversion of all operational companies to private commercial health insurance entities with a market capitalization of about 120 million Ghana cedis. Membership has increased from about 150,000 to 300,000 lives, which is, like Dr. Selby said, 1% of the population of Ghana and about 3% of the NHIS population. Premiums have also increased to about 350 million Ghana cedis, which is 0.12% of the GDP of the nation within the same period. Currently, there are 14 companies that are committed to market-based solutions that improve affordability, value, access, and well-being for consumers. These companies offer a minimum benefit package that does not vary greatly from what is offered by NHIS. The major differences being branded medication as opposed to generic medication by NHIS, optical aids which are not covered, and then some dental care and a few other things. Most of us offer 3 levels of benefits which are differentiated by the sum assured and the sub-limits for about the same benefits at all levels. It is also interesting to note that most of the PHI companies derive their subscriber base from the corporate or formal sector. That's about 75 to 80% of our subscriber base. Some large associations such as teachers and pensioners, that's up to about 18%, and very little from the large informal sector, less than 5%. Growth triggers. By way of subscriber growth, over the past 6 years or so, PHI has witnessed a 90% growth within the last 5 years, averaging about 18% per annum, so that we increased from about 150,000 lives to almost 300,000 lives. This growth, as I explained earlier, has been mainly in the corporate space, with not much progress having been made into the informal sector. Premium growth has been triggered by industry-wide premium revisions announced by players in 2014 and general economic growth. These revisions resulted in a minimum premium benchmark below which companies are not supposed to underwrite health risk. Challenges to growth. The growth that I have explained earlier has been adversely impacted by the following: rising healthcare costs, uncontrolled or unregulated provider increases, unstructured tariff regime for services and medicines, unfair and uncompetitive practices, negative client perception, lack of appetite of the industry to venture into the informal sector, and the capacity of the industry to offer innovative and tailor-made variety of products to various segments of the informal market. Rising healthcare costs gives rise to medical inflation, which is usually 2 times or 3 times the nominal inflation. And with PHIs being price takers, the premiums are the only way we can vary our offer to address medical inflation. So this results in very high premiums, which then rather creates a financial barrier and provides access to only the few who can afford the ability to pay the economic balancing premiums. Arbitrary provider increases distorts business planning and reduces the size of benefits offered to members in exchange for premiums. These arbitrary price increases result from unstructured tariff regime, and though industry has made efforts through its trade association, the PHIEG, to rein in this challenge, not much progress has been achieved. Service charges are impacted by forex, by macroeconomic conditions, and even social changes. In the era of doom so, we saw items on our bills like generator fees, and even by COVID. Now we are seeing PPE fees. Unfair and uncompetitive practices by insurers and providers undermine the growth gains already highlighted. For instance, premium undercutting creates an uncompetitive edge which distorts market activity through business failures, payment delays to providers, as well as diminish the client's confidence. Provider moral hazards through over-invoicing, over-prescribing, and impersonation on the part of the subscribers equally undermines the growth of the PHI. Negative client perceptions result from service failures. Once you are not paying a service provider, he's unable to provide the service to the client goes there, and the client gets disenchanted. So, all these and above result in our inability to grow the industry. The PHI is currently serving less than 10% of the formal sector, even though most of our subscriber base is from the formal sector, and has not made any significant inroads into the informal sector. This is due to lack of awareness of the existence of the private health insurance in the formal sector, as well as the perception that if it is private, it must be expensive. The industry itself is exhibiting some level of risk averseness by not venturing into the informal sector. Obviously, some innovation, research, and skill set is required to overcome this particular challenge. As I intimated earlier, there is not much variety in what is on offer by the PHI. To a large extent, we just offer plain vanilla. So that one company is not very different from the other. Thus, even within the corporate space, we are too comparable. Lack of differentiation in our offerings does not promote the growth of the industry as well. So how do we scale up? In creating sustainable growth for the future, coordinated interventions will be expected from the insurers, regulators, providers, and clients. The insurers' role, market research. After more than a decade of health insurance in Ghana, research is required to understand the new market segments and appraise the current offerings. This will offer the requisite insights to map out sustainable growth strategies. This would aid with market segmentation, product development, and value addition. An industry-led survey will better serve this need than a company-based one. How do we incentivize new customers? Insurance, as they say, is not bought, but sold. So insurance must therefore consider incentivizing new customers to generate demand. Incentives, other than discounts, should be strongly considered. Incentives should be geared towards the total well-being and not just be health or cash related. Incentives could cut across all other insurances and vice versa, leading to increase in the insurance uptake in general. We need to create attractive health-related products other than curative products. The focus in Ghana is always on curative and not on preventative. So insurers must create other products apart from the curative thing where you just have a card and you go to hospital. Today's client is more sophisticated and wants more than healthcare than the client of the last decade. So healthcare advocacy, lifestyle management, and wellness, with emphasis on preventative care, must be creatively explored. Sensitization campaigns. Most people may be aware of NHIS, but do not know about PHIS. There is therefore the need to not only create awareness about the industry, but to educate the citizenry about the relevance of health insurance as a means of financing healthcare. Because our people don't have much disposable income, they also need to be educated about innovative and simple ways of funding their contributions to health insurance. This can be achieved through traditional and digitized advertisement as well as advocacy. The efforts of the PHIS may be supported by the Ministry of Health and the regulator. Technology. Business success in the 21st century requires leveraging technology to eliminate business process inefficiencies and ensure superior client value. The time is right for telemedicine, digitized health analytics, wearables, all those things for real-time decision making. Healthcare is no longer an issue of walking to a hospital, but healthcare should come to you and provide some convenience in the access. Technology must be applied as well in the acquisition, distribution, collection of premiums, as well as reimbursements. Fortunately in Ghana, there are so many ways in which we can collect premiums now and actually pay providers with the uptick of Momo in every sphere of our lives. Partnerships. The sector will also need to develop partnership with other industries such as banking and finance, telcos, insurance, fintechs, etc., which would create several distribution channels as well as new and innovative products which will lead to the growth of the industry. Examples are health savings accounts, etc. The regulator also has a role to play in the growth of the industry. Market research. A regulator-led market research is strategic to understanding the market needs so as to deploy the regulated entities, that is us, viably to respond to these needs. Regulation for compulsory insurance for certain defined segments. As we said, after about a decade of regulations and all that, compulsory health insurance for all employers and SMEs should be highly pursued, and that in itself would also lead to the growth of the industry. Enforcing synergy between NHIS and PHIS. Ghana's health insurance program is novel, having recourse to the vehicles of both the social insurance, that is NHIS, and the commercial one, PHIS. Over the years, the synergies between these two vehicles have not been harnessed. PHIS either duplicates, supplements, or complements the NHIS. This should really create a synergistic effect for the consumer, and this can better be enhanced when the NHIS coverage is redefined to a basic minimum, and the PHIS supported to provide coverage beyond the minimum, and also act as a channel for the provision of the basic minimum, that is the NHIS, as is done in other jurisdictions such as India. Expanding provider credentialing to include service costing. Provider credentialing is a critical quality assessment tool. The current regime should be expanded to include a tariff benchmark setting for PHI healthcare providers. An established tariff regime like that of the NHIS would provide stability for the growing PHI industry. PHI companies would be able to plan and actually determine premiums in advance. Discussions involving the regulator, providers, and the insurers should be immediately explored to realize this. Public education. Effective channels for public education, such as this week and other fora, should be institutionalized and supported to grow. The providers also have a role to play in the growth of our industry. Delighting the consumer or the subscriber at the moment of truth. Aligning with the insurer's promise is a critical provider role to trigger growth. If you buy insurance and end up at the provider and you are not satisfied, you are definitely not going to go back to it. So providers must accept the challenge of moving from a narrative of just dealing with volumes to value by creating care options that fit the insurance promises to its clients. The care provision has also moved from just consulting, diagnosing, prescribing, provision of drugs. Healthcare providers must move away from price giving to strategic partnerships with the health insurers to delight the subscriber. Active participation of healthcare providers in the development of products and benefits will also lead to the diversity which is required, and that would serve the various segments of the market and thereby promote the growth of the industry. The client or the consumer also has a role to play in the growth. Clients are to consider health insurance as an investment instead of a cost. For most people, health insurance is a cost, not an investment in their healthcare. Health insurance is a risk avoidance investment that every consumer must possess. Creative funding options should be explored to make this a reality. Moral hazards. There's the need to eliminate moral hazards. Consumer-induced moral hazard is a key risk to the success of every health insurance enterprise. Consumers owe it to themselves and to their insurers to refrain from multi-shopping for healthcare because they have cover. Just because they have cover, they move from place to place. Others sign on and then they take the medication for their parents, their sisters, their mothers, all those things happen. In some cases, you have Nancy goes to the clinic, checks in, and then when the nurse goes, Nancy, AC walks in to take care of herself. All these things happen. So this behavior will lead to very high health costs, which invariably impacts on the cost of premiums. Consumers should source for healthcare anytime they need it, but they should not abuse the provision because of consumer rights. The introduction of deductibles and co-payments should help address this challenge to growth. In conclusion, the global healthcare landscape is changing significantly with the incidence of COVID-19 and its attendant risk on human wellness. Guaranteed healthcare is no longer a wish, it's a must-have. PHI is better positioned to afford healthcare for every pocket-sized family size, and organizational size. Insurers must refocus offerings to deliver value other than financial and geographical access. Provider partnerships should move beyond the current contracting for price to a more sustainable strategic partnership, which has the ultimate goal of delighting every insured client. The efforts of the NHIS board and the PHI Oversight Committee and the PHIS Directorate are highly commendable. Focus should now be given to consolidating the gains they've made over the years through compulsory health insurance regulations, increased public education, and positioning the NHIS and the PHIS as complementary channels of universal health coverage. PHI in Ghana has come to stay, so we all need to sign up today with any of our established brands and enjoy unfettered healthcare access at over 600 subscription points in Ghana. Thank you for your attention, and again, thank you for including us.